A ruthless gang chopped off a man's leg in what a judge described as a gratuitous, violent, and bordering on sadistic attack. Max Lambert. Liam Whitaker and Liam Hanbury chopped the man's leg off after they tailgated the car he was a passenger in and pounced on him as he arrived at his mum's house in Spinners Close. It was just 3 weeks after Christmas that Lambert, 34, Whitaker, 39, and Hanbury went around the area the man was staying in. A day later, on January 18, 2022, his screams alerted neighbors to the horror of what he had been put through. It was said a machete broke in the attack. It was just one of the weapons Lambert, Whitaker, and Hanbury took with them. They armed themselves with a machete, axe, and sledgehammer. It was said the attack's motive was obscure, but was planned and premeditated. The trio then went to extreme lengths to cover up their tracks, even burning the car they had traveled in, but they did not suspect their victim could recognize them. After his screams alerted neighbors and the police were called, he named Lambert as one of the attackers, but his plight was not over. Despite the fact they had been charged and were not near the victim, what had happened to him terrified him so much he risked going to prison so he did not have to give evidence. At the sentencing hearing on Wednesday, Leeds Crown Court heard the man who had to have surgery to sew his leg back on. After it had been cut off below, the knee failed to turn up to the trial to give evidence. The court heard that by January 28, 2022, when seen by an officer, the man said he was scared of repercussions if he gave his account to police. His Honor Judge Tom Bayliss KC said, "He seems to have been subject to intimidation," and on 6 May he gave a statement. In the statement, the court heard, the man said he had heard rumors he would be killed if he gave evidence at court. On June 6, he gave a statement exonerating the defendants and failed to attend court that July, and was arrested. He spent around 2 weeks in custody before giving evidence which exonerated them. The prosecution were ordered to treat him as a hostile witness. Judge Bayliss said, "He is paranoid and anxious and manifested itself in his behavior." The court heard about the defendant's seemingly normal backgrounds and family life. To anyone who did not know what he had done, Hanbury seemed a perfect family man with children and a longtime partner. He was also a businessman. His background, alongside Whitaker's and Lambert's, make their offending all the more confusing and concerning. Ayaz Kazi, mitigating for Hanbury, summarized a letter written by his partner of 17 years. He said she speaks highly of his family dynamic, his love for his children, and his focus in life he has always demonstrated towards them young children, and speaks of activities he engages in and well-being issues he attends to. The barrister said, she describes, having known of his criminal behavior, how he is someone who has struggles. The court heard at the time of his offending he got up on his feet in terms of business. Benjamin Newton, for Lambert, said the offending was wholly out of character for him. The court heard Lambert has started his own business, and it is quite clear he seemed to turn his life around after his last custodial sentence before this offense. Mr. Newton said Lambert is an attentive father, and a sentence will have an effect on his children. Whitaker represented himself and only spoke to confirm if the court had received his references. It was said he has 29 previous offenses for those including robbery, conspiracy to burgle, violent disorder, and assaulting a constable. Hanbury has 40 previous for 89 offenses. His last was in 2021 for road traffic management. He also has 2 previous convictions for ABH, common assault and battery, possession of an offensive weapon, and production of cannabis. Lambert has 43 convictions, and his last was a burglary offense. He also has previous for GBH. It was said for the defendants that their violent convictions had taken place when they were younger. For Lambert, Mr. Newton said, as an adult, it's mostly dishonesty or production of cannabis. There is a very small spree of offending when he was 15. These offenses include a robbery. Mr. Newton said after a detention and training order, he did not commit another offense of violence. Lambert of Romanby Shaw, Bradford, was found guilty of attempted murder following a trial which concluded in September last year. Whitaker, of Poplarwood Gardens in Bradford, and Hanbury of Street Paul's Road in Shipley were both found guilty in a retrial which came to an end in December last year. They were all jailed for 30 years. They were told they must serve 3/4 of that sentence in custody before going before the parole board, who will determine if they are safe to release. Once released, they must serve 5 years on license. They were all concluded to be dangerous offenders. Hanbury must also serve a consecutive 19-week sentence for possession of cannabis. Judge Bayless said the offense of attempted murder was gratuitous, violent, bordering on sadistic, and involved a number of weapons. He added, "This was a carefully planned offense in which of you had a clear aim to kill the victim." Following the sentence, Detective Inspector Rob Stevens, of West Yorkshire Police, said, "These 3 men inflicted dreadful injuries on their victim in what was a brutal assault which we and 2 juries believed was a clear attempt to commit murder. Their attack on the victim resulted in him suffering life-changing injuries, and the savagery of their attack has been reflected in the very substantial sentences handed down by the courts. These men were swiftly tracked down and arrested in a comprehensive police investigation following the attack, and I hope the victim can take some comfort from seeing these men jailed for such lengthy periods." Chief Superintendent Jim Griffiths, District Commander of Kirklees Police, said, "The very significant sentences given to these men make plain that those who think it is acceptable to carry weapons and also use them can expect to spend many years behind bars. I can also promise criminals that, as this case demonstrates, West Yorkshire Police will use every resource it has to hunt down and bring to justice those involved in serious violent offending. We continue to appeal to residents across Kirklees to contact authorities if they have any information about knife crime or organized crime."